Okay, to draw any kind of vehicle in one point perspective. So for step number one, I went onto my phone and I found a picture of a truck so that it has the correct proportions and the kind of details that I want. Okay, so step number one, draw the side of the object. Got it. And step number two, we need to go to the X. So once again, if you put an X really close to the vehicle, it's really hard to do this. So try to get it nice and far away. Once again, I'm going to do the bird's eye view, so I'm going to put it up in this corner. Okay, so once you have this done, step number one is done. Step number two, go from the corners to the X. So once again, I'm just going to go from this corner. Of course, your lines will not need to be very long because the truck is not that wide. And here's my next corner right here. Even if they're rounded, you just kind of pick the closest part of the curve. Same with this. Wherever my ruler can fit right there, that's my spot. And same with on the front. The angle starts to get a little trickier when you get farther away, but it works. Okay, so I've gone from all the corners. The next thing I need to do is cut off the sides, and I tend to make them like way too wide. So I'm just going to really lightly try first, going, nope, that's still too wide. Okay, what if so before I kind of commit myself to the darker lines, I'm going to come in and just add in, lightly sketch in a few. That doesn't look that bad. How does that look? Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so now I can pick any spot. So again, the front goes straight across, the back needs to go straight across. Front goes straight up and down, back goes straight up and down. Front goes straight up and down, back goes straight up and down. Straight across, straight across. Okay, so we need a bit more information to know where to cut this off. So if you think if this is the back edge, then it's going to be the same spot. So I'm just going to take my ruler and use that. And actually I can just kind of draw right through these windows. And I come out this, and that will give me the line for the front. And then you can also kind of figure out where this windshield would be. So if the windshield is, let's say it's right here, I can use that, go back, and that'll give me the inside of that windshield. And then where it meets here, this same angle would go back up. Again, whatever you do at the front, you do at the back. Now we can kind of see through the windows. Same thing, where is this window divide at the back? Well, we're just going to go to this corner, go back to the X. Oh, it's right there, I won't see it. Okay, how about this corner? Go back to the X, and it's right there. Right. So I can use the information from the front to figure out the back, and just get rid of the excess lines. Oh, I'm missing this line right here because I can actually see inside the bed right there. Okay, so the only other thing I need to do to make three-dimensional is the tires. So I'm just going to start with this one. And same thing, I'm going to go from the X right down where I can kind of get myself started with that angle. Do the same thing on here. It's really hard. So it's going to tell me what the angle is by putting my ruler there, and when it touches that circle, so that's all I can see. And then, again, we need to round the back of them as well. So this curve and this curve, but you can see that's like Fred Flintstone's car. It can't do that. So last time we did arches, we learned that it always goes to the middle of the circle. So what you're going to do is you go from here, you know that's the start of it, And then we just kind of got to get that curve there. So the perspective lets you get started just to know, okay, how much of this tire can we actually see? And then from then you just kind of have to curve it yourself to get it to look better. And you can also, if there's treads on the wheels, they go back to that X as well. So you would start the lines like this, and then you can go back in and put your treads between the lines. Same, even if you could see here, if you point back to the X, and there's the front of your wheel is right there, and start giving yourself these little lines, then any of the pattern of the treads, I'm just going to use little zigzags, would start to go in there. Cool, huh? Okay, and then you can also start to, you know, draw things inside. Steering wheel is just still an oval. How about the seats? You would just see the end. It's the same as drawing a chair or a coach. You would see the end of it like this, and then you would go back to the X to do your front, your back seat, same thing. And this is where you would also start just adding all your details in. Your little door handles. Start adding your lines. Start doubling your lines. Again, this looks really fake and cartoony because of single lines, but when you start going back in and doing that double line thing, it's going to start making everything look much more interesting. Same with back here. I'm going to add a bumper. I'm just going to stick something up here and then go to the X, go to the X, front, back, right, license plate. And even just to go back and round things, this looks way too square here, so I'm just going to start back. And this looks really fake because it's just the one line. Look at the difference when you add the thickness there. Same thing with this front. It's only the thickness of a piece of paper. Let's go back and double that line. And then remember, things have to get smaller as they go back, so let's make that one skinnier. My ruler just moved, so I'm going to go fix that. This makes a big difference, and I'm going to go and add one more layer because not only would it go back, it would also sink back down in again. So let's add a third, way better. It's just this little simplest thing, but by adding these double lines, it makes everything look much more interesting. This looks wrong there too. Same thing, it's just a little too pointy. The front is actually rounding, so we got to do the same back here. Got to go back in, round that line. So the perspective gives you the basics to get started, and then you can just go back in and start adding your details, adding your seats, the inside of the tires. All right. And you can go in and start adding all the details. Start adding lettering on the back if you want. Put some kind of words back in here.